In this video, we will look at the percentage of receivables method for estimating bad debt expense. We're using the information provided on the screen. In a previous video, we looked at the net credit sales method, and now we're going to look at the receivables methods. The percentage of receivable method is a balance sheet approach, and it's a little bit different than the sales approach. The sales says let's match the expense when the sales occur. But on the percentage of receivables, the idea is, hey, this is not based on when we sold the items. It's based on how many receivables are left, or what's the balance in accounts receivable, and those are the customers that are not going to pay. Okay, so this method is a balance sheet approach, and it works just a little bit differently. First of all, before we start this method, we must know what the beginning balance is in the allowance account. So we're going to be working under scenario 1 to start out with, and we're going to assume the allowance for bad debt account had a beginning credit balance of $1,000. So you should draw your T account and put in the $1,000 on the credit side. Now, what's going to happen with this account, or this method, is we want to see what the balance of this account should be using the percentage of receivables. So if we look at our problem, for the percentage of receivables, you'll need to know the ending balance of accounts receivables, and for this problem it was the $400,000. So you're going to take the receivables balance of $400,000 and you're going to multiply it by the percentage given that they think will be uncollectible. And that percentage would come from past experience. And if you didn't have past experience, if you were a new company, you could look at some industry standards. Okay, so when we take $400,000, the receivables balance, we multiply it by the 2% that's given, we're going to get $8,000. Now here's where this method is different than the net credit sales method. In the net credit sales method, we simply put the $8,000, this number calculated, in the account. But under the receivables method, any of the methods that say receivables in it, it would work this way. The $8,000 that we calculate is what we want the ending balance to be in this allowance account. So we want the allowance for bad debt account to get to $8,000. And the reason that it's different than the sales method is the sales method, we have new sales every time period, but if you think about it, accounts receivables, they continually roll over from time period to time period. So one customer might be 60 days past due, so the receivables aren't always matching, or the receivables not due the same time that the sale occurs. So we're going to have the $8,000 that we calculated needs to be the ending balance in the allowance account. And here's where we need to look and see, this account already has $1,000 in the account. So how do we get from a $1,000 credit to an $8,000 credit? Well, that means we would have to record a $7,000 credit. So we need to do that. The entry then is not going to be for the $8,000, but it will be for the $7,000, the amount needed to bring this allowance account up to the appropriate balance. Okay, and again, this is different than the sales method. The sales method, we took the $8,000 and put it straight in the account. In this method, we need to look at the beginning balance and calculate what is needed to get to the ending balance. Okay, so that's scenario 1 for the percentage of receivables method. Now let's take a look at the second scenario. In the second scenario, it says our beginning balance was a debit balance of $300. Okay, and so you would start with a debit balance in the allowance account. Your calculation will be the same. The amount of the receivables balance times the percentage given for the net receivables method part, you get $8,000, and $8,000 is what we would like the balance to be in the allowance account. Now the question is, how do we get from a $300 beginning debit balance to an $8,000 credit balance? Well, you can look at a couple different ways. The first thing is it would be $8,300. You basically got to cover $300 as a credit to get back to zero, and an additional $8,000. Or you can look at it this way. You can add the debit balance of $300 plus your credit balance needed of $8,000. Okay, so we calculated $8,000 as the ending balance needed. We had a beginning debit balance of $300. We need to get to $8,000. We would accomplish that by recording an $8,300 credit. Or think of it this way, you need $300 to balance back out to zero plus an additional $8,000. What number then will go in the journal entry? The number that goes in the journal entry is the $8,300. We would debit bad debt expense, and we would credit the allowance account for $8,300. And again, this $8,300 is just an estimate. Okay? So in the next video, we will look at the aging of receivables method.